All right, hello and welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint. Maximize the impact of your message. My name is Nathan Austin, and I'm joined by Stephanie Kingsland, who's part producing, part presenting, and is going to bail me out if I run into trouble. We also have Megan Forrest behind the scenes doing some producing and Q&A. So thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to hit on how to maximize the impact of your message in PowerPoint, and really some of the best practices for just making your PowerPoints a little bit more interesting than using text. This is not an expert course, but we will give you and highlight several different simple things you can do and learn to make your PowerPoint presentations a little bit more interesting and hopefully more engaging to impact your message. So first of all, again, we're just going to hit a little bit of a how-to on how the basics of building some PowerPoint presentations. In fact, I'm going to, in the demonstration, effectively build out some of the features that we built in this PowerPoint presentation, so you can see how some of the images go, as well as some other characteristics and features. We're also going to cover some presentation tips. These are things kind of in the planning or the preparation side of building out PowerPoint, and some of the things as far as delivering the presentation, things to think about depending on how you prepare for the presentation and rehearsing, all those kind of variables that might help you in preparing for doing a PowerPoint presentation. Then we're going to demonstrate and build it out. We're going to show you and walk through the clicks, and we'll look forward to some questions on that. Then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A and next steps. And so before we move on, I would like to suggest there's a Q&A panel on the side of your window. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, by all means, go ahead and throw them in there. Don't wait till the end. If there's anything that strikes a chord that you'd like to learn a little bit more about, please go ahead and note it in there. Stephanie and Megan will be doing their best to either answer it offline, and or afterwards we'll bring it up in the Q&A session, and we'll actually go through and demonstrate or answer the question live. So with that said, we're going to hit just a little bit about MyTech. 1 minute about MyTech, I like to say. So we are a business and technology consulting company. We are not a training organization. The reason why we hold these sessions is to help our clients solve some of the problems and use some of the tools that they're already paying for better. That's why we do these sessions. But our goal as an organization when we engage our clients is to implement a proven IT strategy. It's not the only strategy. It's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just a strategy that we know works over the last 20 years of working with hundreds of different small businesses, and we know that this strategy can achieve proven results for you, our client. So that is our objective, really, to be able to help remove IT challenges that you have. We know that every business problem is not an IT problem. We are just trying to help take the IT ones off your plate, because our goal is to help you focus on serving your customers better, and so you can be more adaptable to the other business challenges that we all inevitably face. Our team, throughout this process, we hope to make IT easy for you, and by doing all of the above, we hope, and together we know, that our clients can achieve 4 times more value and productivity from their IT investments. If that's something you'd like to learn more about, by all means, give us a shout. Otherwise, let's move on. That's not why you're here today, but thanks for indulging us for the 1 minute about MyTech. Okay, presentation tips. So this is the section where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the preparatory items. So for instance, one of the things is some of the features we're going to talk about are only available with the 365 subscription. So if you've purchased Office through open licensing or some other method, some of the features we're going to talk about are not available. And that's one of the things that Microsoft's doing. I think they're doing a really good job of adding some really cool and enhanced, make it easy and make IT easy features. I'm not sure who's doing that more or the other, but I know Microsoft's doing a good job with that on the subscription version. So we'll show you some of that. One of the things with PowerPoints that's oftentimes one of the biggest challenges is if you have more just paragraphs of content. Bullet points and minimal amount of words is really critical. This is not about sharing all of the language and communicating in a paragraph form. It's about putting some bullet points out there so you can talk through the scenarios and you can fill it with more context. One of the things, if you know how you prepare, is use the notes field, use the notes underneath the slide. So if that's something that helps you prepare. One of the things that your slides can get a little busy. Not saying your slides are getting busy, but they can, and so be aware of limiting the number of fonts. We recommend just one type of font or a couple types of fonts, maybe using bold or different colors as illustrated on this slide. And I would highly recommend build out your content first, then your design next. We'll show you what that means in the demonstration a little bit, but ideally build out your content first, and then there's some tips that as far as what PowerPoint can help you do to actually build out the design. Next, using pictures and other visuals. It's good to help be able to embed a little video here and there, grab a picture, use different colors, shapes too, or something that you can use like the last slide illustrated. But one of the things, if you're using images, be aware of copyright. There are applications or platforms out there. I know Stephanie, we use them on a regular basis as far as copyright, as far as if you're publishing things, how that can be used images wise. Sometimes you can purchase the rights to those, so just be aware of that as you're downloading images. Finally, or not finally, but the next one with regard to presenting, one of the problems that I sometimes have, and I've had in presentations in the past, and especially the longer your presentation is, the more appropriate this is to find spots to pause. What I mean by that is, in particular, because oftentimes as a presenter, you're just going through the content, you're presenting slides. If it's not a designed interactive session, kind of like this one, you really don't want it to go on for too long without pausing for Q&A. That's one of the reasons why we designed these sessions to be only 30 minutes at most. Before we can dig into the Q&A, because it's hard to maintain attention span, and people will forget about what you've covered, and so it's good to interject Q&A. What I found is actually interject a Q&A slide, use an image. It forces you as a presenter to pause, and it allows your audience to open up and ask questions. Now we're not in person right now, so that's sometimes a challenge. Whether that's virtually or in person, just be aware of inserting and finding some natural pauses for Q&A. Finally, then on this one is know how you prepare. So not only does that apply to, say, notes or using the presenter view when you actually present, if that helps you so you can see what slide comes next, or there's also things like rehearsing timings. If you really have to nail specific timing on your presentation and that's how you prepare, is to be able to make sure you time out exactly what you're going to say and exactly how long each slide you're going to spend time on each slide. There's some rehearsed timings. There's also an option, this is only available in the web. I'm not sure if it's subscription only, but definitely web only, where you can use rehearsed timings with Coach. So we'll show you those through this presentation. But one of the things that I found, again, I think this is just something for you to be aware of, not only yourself, but if you're asking other people on your team to be able to present, is that people prepare differently. So some people can put together a PowerPoint and put together an outline, and they can speak for an hour, no problem. Or they can, put together a few slides, and they know the content. From the bullets, they can put together a presentation, and it's easy for them to navigate. Other people need to rehearse it multiple times and go through it and time it and make sure that it's perfectly aligned for them to feel comfortable to be able to present. So just know that different people have different preparation styles and ways to put together and prepare for PowerPoint presentations. So that's just something that I like to acknowledge. That was a learning curve and lesson for me when I had asked other people to present and just not understanding that they prepare differently than I do. And that's just really something to be aware of and conscious of as you go through this. So as well as your own style, of course. So with that said, we're about ready to go into the demonstration, but I'm going to set up the next slide before I do that. For those of you who might be fans of the show The Office, I have a little PowerPoint humor for you. I'm going to set up the session. So for those of you who don't know The Office, I'm going to tee it up. So in the segment, Michael Scott, who is the boss or the manager of a branch, he has been told by his boss I need you to learn how to PowerPoint. I need you to present PowerPoint, and you're going to hold a meeting when I get there, and I need you to know and deliver PowerPoint. So this is what Michael Scott chooses to do with those instructions. Basically, he's PowerPointing. So I always find that a little funny. My wife doesn't find it as funny as I do because she doesn't use PowerPoint, but I always find that a little amusing, the subtle humor that Michael Scott brings into the office. So we're not talking about the Michael Scott version of PowerPointing, to be clear. So, all right, enough of that. Let's move on to building out a demonstration. So I'm going to escape out of the presentation mode here, and I'm actually going to go through creating a new PowerPoint. So I'm going to start. I'm already in the PowerPoint application, so I'm just going to come up here, go to File, and click new. Or it gives me the option of new. So one of the things you'll see here is that you start seeing different templates up at the top. You can also build in your organizational template. That's something that you can do as well, as far as looking at not only just a blank presentation, but you can have your own organizational template which has your organizational font styles and those kind of things with your logo embedded, as you can see. There's also some tutorials. So if you're interested, I would recommend clicking into these, and it actually opens up some really cool tutorials to help you walk through building out some PowerPoint presentations. So I'm just going to do a blank presentation to start. So clicking blank. One of the things that you can do is there's this concept called design ideas. Notice by default, when you click new, it already comes up with a bunch of different design ideas. And this is one of those features that's only available in the subscription. So that's one of the reasons why we like to call that out as a little disclaimer. So if you have Office 2019 or Office 2016, but it's not the Office 365 subscription version of Office, you will not see this capability. This has been one of my best friends as far as building out PowerPoint presentations, and you'll see why as we walk through it in this presentation. And it's a good reason for Microsoft to incent people to go towards the subscription version of Office versus the purchased one-time purchase version. So you can have these different design templates over here on the side. For the sake of, you can choose those. I'm not going to choose one at the moment. What I am going to do is I'm going to choose a new, I'm going to pick a blank slide. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an image. So again, a blank slide. I'm going to go over to insert, and I'm going to insert a picture from this device. And I actually have that already built out in my demonstration content here. And so the design idea. So this is the image. I'm just going to open this up. This is the image that we are using, that we used on our invitation, right? Or this was on our website. This is the background image on our presentation for today. But once I put this image in here, notice what it does over here on design ideas. It starts giving me opportunities to choose by just putting the image in here. It gives me the opportunity to choose different options. Like I can make it look like this and have some kind of a cool graphic around it. If I want to, make it, again, you can get the idea. It gives different frames that you can embed. Different little diagrams like that. Again, all kinds of different options. I found also that sometimes when you click away and click back, it actually then it takes this image and gives you more design ideas around that image too, or that design idea too. So you can play with it. I'm just going to choose this one for the sake of the conversation. That's just a random one that I chose. So that's a way that you can choose a design idea. Notice if I click back to this slide, it still gives me options now to say this theme that is kind of coming through from the other image, right? So I can say, hey, I want this title. So I'm going to click the add title, demo. I'll just abbreviate here for the sake of the conversation. Demo PowerPoint. Here we go. All right. So now what I want to do is that's how you can create a new PowerPoint. Again, choose the blank, and you can either choose a template as you go along, or when you do, when you click File, you can also create, pick a template right from the start. So either way works. I just wanted to illustrate how to do it from an image, because sometimes you might have an image that you've already used in your communications internally or externally, and you might want to try and incorporate that image. And it's really a way just import the image, and then you can use the design ideas to be able to execute on that. Okay. Then over is choosing a theme. So one of the other things that I would like to say is build out content. So as you're going to build out content, I'm just going to do a new slide. I'm going to hit title and content. One of the things that I would recommend is, again, as I mentioned earlier, build out the content first, design later. So what I did is I actually built out the exact bullet points and outline items that was already that we basically had selected that for this presentation, that I built out for this presentation. So I'm going to just copy and paste this. There is a way, by the way, you can import outlines from Word into PowerPoint. I'm not going to show that today. I found that it works pretty well, but it doesn't do much more than, depending on how much outline you built out, it doesn't save you a ton of time. Like for instance, only having 3 slides that I built out here, it doesn't save me a ton of time. But if I have 10 or 15 or 20 slides that might be from an outline, it would save me a bunch of time. So now that I've just copied and pasted this content. So one of the things you'll notice is that it's just black and white text, and that's fine, but it's a little boring. So what can we do to maybe jazz this up a little bit really easily? Now, again, I'm not a creative person when it comes to this stuff. I'm not really good at this stuff. So design ideas and being able to use some of the features of PowerPoint have really helped me out. So notice there's two ways to get to design ideas. If you're on the home menu, if there's over here, there's design ideas, or if you're on the design menu, so I'll click on the design menu, and you'll also see design ideas here. You'll also see the ability to add certain templates. You can still add themes or templates at this point as well. Again, I'm not going to choose any one of those because you can do that, but I wanted to show you, although you hover over it, you can see what that does. So this is kind of cool ways to be able to see what this looks like. Again, by just hovering over it. And I think the theme here is this stuff that I'm showing you right now is included in PowerPoint. It's the design ideas part that's not included. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to go all the way over to the design ideas, and I'm just going to go ahead and click here. And notice it's generating design ideas. So what it does is it takes my content that I put in, and it takes a little bit of the theme that I've done potentially, and it starts giving me other different ideas of what I want this to look like. So I can look like a pretty amazing PowerPoint designer. Like, look at this. This is basically embedding icons and bars and images and shading and colors just by one click. I mean, I can do this one too. I think I like this one the best. So I'm gonna choose this one. This is an example that tries to go along with my theme. One of the things that you'll find is I'll click away from this and I'll click back to it, and you'll see that it will then give me ideas based on this theme. So I'm just going to go ahead, like I said, I'm just going to click here, and notice it gives me design ideas over here as well. And I'm going to click back, and now it's generating more design ideas based on what I've already selected that are different from the last time. So if you get something that's similar to what you like, but not exactly, that's one of the things you can do is click away and click back, and it'll give you other design ideas that are more similar to what you selected in the first place. Again, lots of different options here to click through. I'd like to go back to my original one, so I think I'm just going to click undo here a couple times. There we go. Okay. So that's an example of where build out your content first. Again, all I did is type in the words. I basically copied and pasted the words, and then click design ideas, and you can make it look the way you want with real simple. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to show you how to do a little bit more complex stuff with the Make IT Easy slide. So I'm going to go back to the home menu up here at the top, and I'm going to just choose add a new slide. Let's do a blank content slide here. So if you recall, this slide back here, the Make IT Easy slide, this has got some complexity to it. So there's a couple different ways I want to show you here something that you can do if you're trying to build out a blank presentation. So one, when you right click on this, you can actually use the reuse slide option. So for instance, if I know that I've got a slide from another PowerPoint presentation, I can click reuse slide. I'm going to close the design ideas for the moment. Now I can choose what are the different slides I want. So gosh, I know, hey, there was a slide on this PowerPoint that I know I really like. So I click into that, and now it pulls up all the different slides. I want to reuse this one, so I'm going to select this one, reuse that slide. So now it just pulled that slide over from one of my presentations. Instead of having to open up and navigate back and forth between different presentations, I was quickly able to navigate back and forth, and I could pull other slides from different presentations if I wanted. So it's kind of a cool way to be able to grab slides. It's something that we've even talked about as we learned how this works, where we can build out templates. So if we know that this is a slide that we want, we can build out PowerPoint templates that have this information that can be pulled into different presentations really easily. So that's one thing to be able to reuse slides, but I'm not going to reuse a slide because that's not the point. I'm not trying to cheat. I actually want to show you how to build some of that out. So I'm going to start with some shapes and building layers. So if you come up here from a, I think it's a insert, sorry, come up here to shapes. If you click this, it gives you lots of different options. So if you recall from the Make IT Easy screen, there was an arrow that was pointing in this direction. So I'm going to do click on an arrow. And so I just had to click on the screen. I want to make the arrow a little bit bigger. There we go. It's not going to be exact. So, and I could choose the color of the arrow right up here. We chose blue, so I'm going to go ahead and click blue. Then we actually had another shape. We had a few other shapes that were boxes. So I'm just going to pick rectangle, choose it here. I'm going to make that box. There's 3 of them, so I'm going to copy those. Copy, paste. I'm just going to copy and paste these Actually, I should have changed the color first. Fill, I want the fill to be no fill. Now I got to do it on this one too. Fill. And that was, by the way, I'm just right clicking on the box once it's selected. Okay, so you get a couple items. So now I've got some boxes here. Again, I'm going to flip back and forth. I'm going to go back to the other one. So if you see what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to emulate. I'm not going to get it as good as this, by the way, because I'm trying to go fast. But you get the idea. I'm going to try and show you how to do something like this. So back to this PowerPoint. So now we've got a couple images here, and I want to add those icons. So I'm going to insert a picture. From this device. I've actually already selected some of the pictures. I want to choose the conversation graphic. I'm going to insert that. I want that to be in this box here. All right. And then I want to insert another picture. And I want to pick this one. That's the other one that's in that second box. So I'm going to add that here. All right. And actually, I think what I'll want is, now that I think about it, I think I want a fill to be a little different. I think I want the fill to be, oops. So once you start layering stuff, it gets a little trickier. I think I want the fill to be, there we go. So that way, because I want it to block out the blue arrow. So I basically had to choose a different fill. So I got to click on the line. That's also what's unique. Fill, same thing. I'm going to choose, instead of no fill, which I have, I want to choose a color. So I actually want to have it be a blank color. All right, notice I'm layering this over the top here. So now I just want to insert a text box. Here we go. And put that in here. And I can fill on business. Of course, I got to choose the text color. Notice that. How do I choose that? Text color has to be, I want it to be black. There we go. Not going to do everything here, but you get the idea. I've got the text box here. I want to move that. So you can start building this stuff out. And one of the things that Stephanie showed me that I thought was interesting, how you can do this stuff, is that you can send to back or bring to front. So notice, because of the way I built this, the arrow is behind all of this. Well, what if I didn't want that? I can actually right click on it and say send, I can bring it to front, and now it's going to cover the front. Well, that's not what I want, so I'm going to actually right click on this and send to back. But that's an example of what you can do to basically build out some of these slides. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to build out everything, but you get the idea. I can start inserting, once you've found these images or these icons, these are just icons that you can find online. I'm going to, you can just start inserting them and placing them. And then the other thing that I like what Stephanie did, just is really simple and subtle, but she also put this here. She basically just did a text box, and she just highlighted some of the words in color just to bring a little bit more attention to it, to give some focus. So again, I wasn't going to build out the whole slide, but you get the idea. Like a slide like this looks really complex and really intimidating, and candidly, I'm intimidated by it. But once you learn some of the tips of just being able to create the box, use shapes to create those boxes, just include some icons. These are just text boxes. It's really not that difficult to be able to do once you just know a couple of the tricks. I'm going to insert another text box here really quick. Down here, say strategy. And I realized that I forgot to put the font color. So I'm a quick learner. Strategy. All right, so just again, keeping a couple words there. So again, I'm not going to finish it out for the sake of time, but you get the idea, is that being able to use shapes, something that I had never really done that much before. Shapes, you can also find icons. There's other things you can do, but there's some pretty easy things you can do with images to be able to move to front or move to back or use shapes on being able to make it a little bit more interesting. So now I'm also going to show you a feature that's only exists in the subscription version as well, and it's this thing called Morph. So one of the things that I'll show is it's basically where you'll show how it goes from one slide to another. So I'm going to take this slide, I'm going to duplicate it, and this is how you go through the steps of a morph. So and I'll show you what I mean, because it's just easier to show you than tell you. So I'm going to actually come into this slide, and I'm going to choose, I'm going to pick this section here, and I want to move this whole section up. so I'm going to move it up a little bit. And I actually want to move this section over. So I'm going to move it over a little bit and move it down a little bit. I'm just using my arrow keys right now. I could grab the whole thing, but sometimes I like the arrow keys when I'm doing that. And then I also want to take this and I want to move it a little, I want to make it move downward like this for whatever reason and make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so there I've done that. So now when I click on here, I'm going to go up into the transitions. So I go up to the transitions menu and I click morph. That's not what I wanted. Sorry about that. I wanted to morph between. I'm going to unselect that. I have to select this one and select morph. So what it does, it's going to transition from here to here and in the transition. So I hit morph. So to you, and if I'm going to go back here and I'm actually going to go from presentation mode. So for you, all I'm going to click is next, but as a presenter, that's what I'm going to click. But visually, it subtly goes through and basically does this. It just kind of does a nice, easy transition between the slides. So that's an example of morph. You basically duplicate the slide, move it to the pieces wherever you want them, and then on the second slide, hit morph. And it makes a nice transition like that. The other thing you can do, of course, is animations. When you click on the animations tab, you can also just say, hey, I don't want this to appear right away. So I'm going to select this. That's not what I wanted. I'm sorry. You have to be careful when there's multiple boxes. I'm going to select this section here, and I want this to come in second. So I'm just going to have it float in later, and it gives you an example of that. One of the things I like about PowerPoint too is that it gives you this little indicator here on the side, this tiny little indicator, which means that this slide has an animation. So if you're trying to remember which slides you built animations or not, this is something that you can do to note that. Let's say I want this one to come in next. I'll float in. And also numbers them. If you haven't been used to this, it numbers them here, it numbers them here. And if I want this one to come earlier, I just have to select it, and I can actually come over here in the corner and say I want to move that earlier. So now it actually moves this to number 1 and it moves this to number 2. So when I go back to, I'm going to click on slide, so you can kind of see what that does. That's what the slide as it starts. My next click brings in the arrow. My next click brings in that one. So you can choose when you're getting to the animations. Again, this is somewhat simple, but if you're not used to animations, these are a couple little tricks that'll help you navigate them. And then the other thing that I'll sometimes do is I start with animations, and I'm like, I don't want them. So I'll just come in here and I'll click none. Now it takes that animation off. I'm going to click none and click none. I just want to get rid of the animations. And now that I've done that, it shows this star because of the transition, but all the animations, as you can see, are gone. You only see that if you're actually on the animations slide. Otherwise, those numbers don't show up. So those are the examples of how to do animations and morphing using that Make IT Easy slide. The last thing I want to show is there's a cool little feature that you can do as far as just to do blank content here really quick. And what about a recording? So if you go over to Insert, one of the things you can do over here is there's a screen recording capability that you can do. So as you're building out your PowerPoint, it's very common that you want to maybe demonstrate how to do something, how to navigate a website, how to walk through a Word document, how to do different variables. So in the screen recording, I'm not going to do it live right now because I already recorded one, but I used that recording so I'm going to now grab a video, but I used the recording to basically do the morph function that I just showed you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on video. And I'm going to, from my PC, here's the demonstration that I built out, insert. And so this is the screen recording that I did for the morph, and I can click play, and it basically walks you through exactly what I did over here, except I did it for this whole slide. And one of the things that I like about understanding the video is that where people struggle in PowerPoint presentations, if you're embedding a video, is do you want the video to start when you navigate to the slide, or do you want the video to start when you click on it? Do you want it to start after a certain period of time? So in order to select those options, you actually have to come, notice you're going to see up here a couple menu bars up here that don't currently exist. I have to click on the video. Once I click on the video itself, then these come up. So I'll click on the playback menu up here, and the start is in click sequence. So right now, if I chose this, I would have to advance the slides or click in order for the video to play when I get to this slide. But if I want it to start automatically, I just have to click automatically, or I could choose when I actually, as a presenter, click on the play button. So that's what you can do. Again, you can do some looping, etc. But so this is how you can choose whether or not you want the video to start automatically or in your click sequence in your PowerPoint presentation. So you could also, you don't need to use the screen recording function. You could use Teams to record a screen and record your audio. You could use any number of other files. As long as it's saved in a video file, you can embed a video and be able to set these settings inside of PowerPoint. So this presentation here doesn't look exactly like the one we just did, but I thought I'd show you some of the features that we used in this presentation to be able to build out some PowerPoint presentations. So I'm going to go back now to our core presentation here and go to this summary slide. So really, in the end, there's some key things that, and these are some basic things you can do to really increase the impact of your message using themes and templates. If you're using images, as far as you can make a design or a template around an image, you can use slide templates, or you can use themes when you first start. Using shapes and images, you can build layers, setting to back, setting to front, use shapes. Those are different features that, again, I was always intimidated by, but once I learned a couple little tips and tricks, it actually is relatively easy to do. Animations and transitions, I've used animations quite a bit, but not so much transitions as much. I think I'd like to use those a little bit more, even with the Morph capability, which is kind of cool when that's appropriate, but beware it can be overused. So if you are using animations, one of the things I would suggest as you're going back through your presentation and you're preparing for the presentation is walk through the animations. What I've found very often in the past is I've missed an order. So I'm trying to go through a bullet list of 1, 2, 3, 4 or something like that, and 4 pops up before 2 because I missed ordering the animation. So I would recommend testing that before you do a presentation. Again, keep it simple, don't overuse them. Finally, on screen recording or video, you can use a screen recording that's native in PowerPoint. Again, you can record in Teams or some other tool. But one of the things that I always found when I've watched PowerPoint presentations that always seem to kind of trip up a presenter is if they didn't check that option that's in the playback function. Again, you have to click on the video and then the playback option appears, and then you can choose to on click or automate or on actually selecting play. So those are the key points in PowerPoint that I wanted to share today. Again, these are some simple things. If you already are used to these things, great. Take it to the next level. If you're not used to these variables, and we showed you some new stuff today, I hope it helps you have deliver better, more impactful PowerPoint presentations. To summarize, if these are some of the things you can do, just find one of these things. That last slide would be a great one to screenshot if you wanted, just because this is kind of the summary of things to think about. And we'll send out the slide if you'd like, the slide deck if you'd like. Write some of those things down right now. Maybe your next PowerPoint presentation is not going to be for a month or two. Write some of the things down and give it a shot when you have a chance. If you are doing PowerPoint presentations on a regular basis, take some baby steps, try it out, get used to it, play around a little bit. There's some cool features, especially if you're using the subscription version of PowerPoint. And finally, join us for our future sessions. We have a team member open forum this Friday for any team members, anyone who's trying to use this stuff. It could be about PowerPoint, it could be about Teams, anything Office 365 or Office. We'd be happy to answer those questions. We really want to encourage and help your team members just use these tools better. So if you got people on your team that you feel could benefit from that, any question is fair game. Please send them this Friday at 1 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock Mountain Time. We'd be happy to go through that with you as well. And check out our website for future events on mytech.com/events. So for those, thanks for joining and attending today. Let's open it up for questions. For those who need to drop off, thank you. For those that can stick around, let's open it up. Stephanie or Megan?
Awesome, Nate, thanks. I do not see any questions right now in the Q&A panel. So if anybody has questions, feel free to come in there.
All right, well, I've got something that I wanted to cover if the question hasn't popped up yet. So maybe this will prompt a question. So one of the things that is a feature as far as how you prepare, I mentioned and under the review, under the slideshow, there's this option to do setup slideshow. Rehearse timings. So rehearsing timings, if I click this, what it allows me to do is go through the PowerPoint and it times navigating between slides. So, and then what you can do is you can apply that timing to the slide to give you as the presenter the target time frame that you want to make sure you accomplish your presentation in the time that you've the time you have allocated. So that's one thing that is an interesting way to go through it is you can rehearse your timings. Again, practice makes perfect, right? That's what it says. So if that's one of the ways in which you prepare, that's a quick tool that you can use. You just click on rehearse timings, and notice it pops up a little recording window up here at the top, and it starts timing it. And then as I advance the slide, it resets this clock here, but it keeps this clock going so that you can actually see not only timing on each slide, but the overall presentation. So that's one of the cool features there, if that's something you would find valuable in helping you prepare. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit close, and it'll ask me the total time for your slideshow is 29 seconds. Do you want to save the new slide timings? So this will actually then save it into your PowerPoint presentation. But I'm going to say no because I didn't go through the whole presentation. So that's one of the things that's cool and available as far as helping you prep for delivering your PowerPoint presentation once you have it completed. There's one other feature that's only available in the web, and I think I've got that teed up here. Yes, so I'm actually going to open this up. Forgive me as I'm pulling up in our web portal here in our SharePoint site. So we can show you this feature, and it's in our content. Sorry, I thought I had it teed up better than I did. So it's in our content, and you can, this feature is, it's basically, it's an enhancement of the feature we just showed, but it is actually only available in the web. And I don't know if that's going to be a long-term thing that it's only available on the web, or if that's something that Microsoft intends on keeping it in the web. I'm not sure. So I'm not the expert and I don't make those decisions at Microsoft, but it's just something that we wanted to show, and that's rehearsing with Coach. So I'm actually going to open this up in PowerPoint or in the web browser. So I just opened up our same presentation in PowerPoint, and as it's opening up, as you can see here, so this is the same presentation, and I'm actually going to go to the slideshow menu. And once I click on that, I think it's still opening, so it's not letting me select it yet. There we go. So now the menu is available, and one of the things that you're going to see is an additional option that is, oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Once I had to select slideshow, I thought I selected that. But slideshow, it's again a little bit different view in the web, but there's this option to rehearse with Coach. When you use that option, again, this is only available on the web, and I'm not sure if this is a subscription-only feature or just a web-only feature or both. So forgive me. But the Rehearse with Coach, basically, it will record the speed at which you're speaking. So you can, if you have a tendency, if you're one of those folks like I am, that you have a tendency of speaking quickly, it'll actually tell you. It's like, hey, you're speaking faster than what most people will absorb content and information, so please slow down. Or when you hit here, you are fine, but when you hit this slide, you were going too fast. So it'll give you actually tips, again, rehearsing with a coach. So it'll actually record what you're doing, it'll listen to the speed and the rate at which you're presenting, and it'll give you tips and tricks on how to adjust your presentation for optimal impact. So again, that's a feature that if you notice in the PowerPoint presentation itself, as I open this up, if I go to slideshow, that option does not exist. I only have the option to rehearse timings. But in the web browser, I do have the option, once I click slideshow, to rehearse with Coach. So that's available there. I don't know if that prompted any questions from the group, Stephanie, but that was something that I thought I wanted to cover that I realized I hadn't covered yet in the presentation.
Yeah, awesome. I do have one more question that came in. And I don't know if we'll be able to show it, but they're asking if we could show the recording feature step by step.
So the reason why I maybe, so let's try it. So hopefully it'll give me an error if it doesn't work. So one of the things that when we're doing these presentations, Teams is accessing our video camera and our microphone. So using the recording function accesses not the video camera, but it does access the microphone. So I don't know if it will allow me to actually access the microphone in doing this. So that's why I did it ahead of time to show you that. But yeah, so it's relatively simple. So I'm just going to go to I think you have to go to Insert and Screen Recording. So I'm going to pull up just it'll make sure so Word documents behind the scenes. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hit. I'll try it. So let's see how it works. Screen recording. So you just click on that. It basically asks me, so this is what this does here. It's basically giving me a window, so I can choose to select the area. So say if I don't want to show this whole area, let's say I just want to show this area here. So I can choose the area that I want to record. It doesn't have to record the whole screen, and I can choose audio or not, and I can choose to record the pointer or not. So it's pretty basic, but then all I do is click record, and it saves it to an MP4. But that's where the trick that I found is that and you can actually bring up the document that you're on, but just be aware it looks like it's grayed out, so you can't bring it up. But if I want to choose the Word document or a different PowerPoint presentation, I can reset the select area. But basically, first step is you hit record or the screen recording. You choose the area that you want to record, and then hit record, and then morph. So for instance, I'll actually do it on. In fact, I'll do it on this because this is one thing I wanted to show. So I'll actually show the morphing. So I'm going to select area. I'm going to pick this whole section here on how to morph, and I'll just walk you through it. Right. So I'll do this. I'm going to turn off the audio though, just so that doesn't create a conflict. And I'm going to hit record. So basically I hit record, Windows logo key plus Shift plus Q to quit. So all right, I'm going to say morph. Here's what I'm going to duplicate the slide, right click, duplicate slide. I'm going to choose the different things that I want to change. I'm going to move this up, again, using my cursor. I'm going to move this one down. Okay, I'm going to choose this. Sorry, move it that way. Move this over a little bit for whatever reason, just to illustrate the point. And now I've done that, and I'm going to come up here to transitions. I'm going to hit morph. And that shows you how to morph. So now I'm going to hit the Windows key, Shift, and Q. And now that quit the recording. And it basically embedded the recording into this slide. So if I click play, you'll see that it walks through. It should show my pointer, but it's not recording my voice, and it's walking through everything. But when you hit screen record, it basically dumps it into one of your slides, and you can and it automatically embeds the video. So, and then when you click on that and hit pause, you can also come up into playback and choose to play in sequence, or again, click automatically if you'd like. Let's say you don't want to embed it in this presentation. You can right click and on the video and say save media as, and you can just save that wherever you'd like. So again, demo screen recording. I did one already. So now I've saved that in the same place where I've had everything. So here's the demo screen recording is in here, right here, and so I can embed that on other PowerPoints if I'd like, or use it in other ways. So you don't even have to use the screen recording capability to put it into a PowerPoint. You can actually just use it to create MP4 videos of demos if you'd like. But that's how to do the screen recording. It's relatively easy. Just click on the slide, hit insert, screen recording, and then select your area, hit record, and it embeds it right into the slide. Hopefully it helps.
Awesome. I'm glad we were able to show that. That looks like all the questions we have for today.
Okay. Well, looks like I did that. I embedded that screen recording over the last slide. So, I'll go ahead and delete this for illustration purposes here. Just cut this out there. So thanks everyone for attending today. I know that for some of you, this might have been a little basic if you're more of a PowerPoint power user, so to speak. But I can tell you that these simple tricks are things that have helped, I feel that have helped me deliver better PowerPoint presentations and have a little bit more dynamic and engaging content and visuals. And I'm not a creative person, so this stuff is really hard for me. But using these simple tools like the design ideas and using those themes are just and those shapes, they're really easy things to be able to do once you learn just a couple little tricks. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned for future sessions. But in the meantime, we'll talk to you soon, okay?